Good afternoon. If you could please find your seats, we will begin in about 20 seconds. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on December 18th, our final formal meeting of the calendar year 2024. Before we begin the formal agenda, I'll invite Police Chaplain Harry Sexton to provide an invocation.
Madam Mayor, honorable council members, ladies and gentlemen, today's invocation is based upon Isaiah chapter 56, verse 1, which says, "This is what the Lord says, preserve justice and do what is right, for my salvation is coming soon, and my righteousness will be revealed." Let us pray. O Father, we bring before you, the mighty King of all creation, this council. We ask for supernatural wisdom as they strive to preserve justice and do what is right for the people in Phoenix that you have entrusted into their care. At this time of the year, we remember even more that your salvation is coming soon and your righteousness has been revealed in Emmanuel. Father, let us keep our focus on you, to be attentive to your direction as we seek to bring peace where there is discord and harmony where there is divisiveness, so that all may live in your light. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Councilwoman O'Brien, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now call to order the formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor Stark. Mayor Gallego.
Here. Oscar and Elsie are with us to provide interpretation. Oscar, would you introduce your team?
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, my name is Oscar Monroy, and together with my colleague Elsie Duarte, we will be serving as Spanish interpreters for today's City Council formal meeting. I will now take a moment to introduce ourselves to our Spanish-speaking audience and review some guidelines. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a la reunión formal del Consejo Municipal. Mi nombre es Oscar Monroy y junto con mi colega Elsie Duarte estaremos sirviéndoles hoy como intérpretes a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana. Deseamos pedirles de antemano, si va a dar un comentario público, por favor, hable despacio, con claridad y evite tener distracciones de fondo. Finalmente, pause después de cada una o dos oraciones para poder interpretar lo que esté diciendo de la manera más completa posible. Gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Oscar. Would the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G7333 through 7343, S51501 through 51563, and resolutions 22268 through 22270.
Will the city attorney please explain the role of public comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. The city council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. Additionally, any member of the public who appears before council in their capacity as a lobbyist must, as required by Phoenix City Code, disclose this fact before addressing council. The city code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. The person who violates these rules will lose the opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you so much. We'll begin with the meeting minutes. Councilwoman Guardado, do you have a motion on item 1?
Yes, Mayor. I move to approve the meeting minutes of June 12, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on item 2?
Yes. I move to approve mayor and city council boards and commissions nominations as revised.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Would our new commissioners please come forward to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of. State your office. Workforce. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. You are officially sworn in. You could go behind there on it. Congratulations to our new commissioners who will help us on everything from village planning to advising on the future of workforce investments and the Phoenix economy. We so appreciate your service. We provide an advisory role to the state of Arizona on liquor license, and we'll go to that portion of our agenda next. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve items 3 through 27, except item 27, and noting that item 26 is approved as revised.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Item 27 is in Council District 8. I will turn to Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my understanding the applicant is here on item number 27 and would like to be heard.
Wonderful. We will begin with the applicant, Angelina. Oh, thank you.
I think that.
Hello.
Hello.
We just wanted to request more time to give the paperwork to the finance department.
With that, thank you so much. With that, I will move that we grant the continuance as requested by the applicant.
And January 15th, does that give us time, or do we need a little bit more time? We think January 15th? Wonderful. So the councilman has made a motion to continue to January 15th.
That is correct.
And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see you in January. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business planning and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
I move to approve items 28 through 114, except the following. Items 44, 52, 62, 63, 66, and 90, noting that item 58 is being continued to January 15th, 2025, Item 82 is being continued to January 15th, 2025. Item 89 is being continued to January 15th, 2025 as corrected. Item 113 is an add-on. Item 114 is an add-on. And excluding the following items for virtual public comment, which are items 49 and 73. And can the clerk confirm if there are any other items that should be excluded for in-person public comment?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, also excluding items 60, 64, and 82. That's items 60, 64, and 82.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, and noting 82 has a speaker, but that is continued, so we won't hear that speaker until January. Any comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Councilwoman Guardado, do you have a motion on item 44?
Yes, I would move approval for item 44.
Second.
Motion and second, and I'll recognize the councilwoman for comments.
Thank you, Mayor. The True Local Solar Container Farm project by Homer Farms was established through a year-long collaborative partnership between the City of Phoenix Office of Environmental Programs and the Salt River Project, SRP, and the Arizona State University. The Office of Environmental Programs Food Systems staff led the effort and continues to lead the coordination of the project. The project will produce primarily leafy greens using indoor vertical farming techniques that are water efficient, and the energy for the project will be from several solar panels placed across the site with excess energy sold back to SRP. Home Farms has agreed to donate 20% of the produce to the community. We are extremely excited to see this opportunity in District 5 and bridge the gap between healthy eating and affordability for some of our District 5 neighborhoods. Home Farms will also provide indoor vertical farming training to residents and entrepreneurs each year to increase economic opportunities and access to healthy food in surrounding community. The Office of Environmental Programs, SRP, and ASU desire to replicate similar projects in other food desert areas in the city, and we are excited to see this succeed and set an example for future opportunities throughout the city. A ribbon cutting for the project will occur on January 24th, 2025, and I would like to thank Assisting City Manager Lori Bays, the Fire Department, the Finance Department for all of their hard work. We're very excited about this project and can't wait to get to that ribbon cutting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 49 is an amendment to the city's combined classification and pay ordinance in accordance with the Human Resources Committee recommendations. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 49.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We do have one comment. Scott Kirk.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm as a employee of the City of Phoenix, as a residential inspection supervisor. These classification changes will make it so that people who are not capable of doing our jobs are being paid more than us, which is a concern both for equity and cultural competency, which is a priority for the city across the board. I'm not trying to fight against my fellow colleagues getting raises. I think we should all be paid a fair wage. But when people who are not capable of doing another person's position are paid more than other people, it does create animosity in the departments. And this is definitely a concern. I mean, we appreciate all the hard work City Council and HR staff have done to help get us additional pay. It just seems like we keep missing the bar here. and creating additional problems, inequities, and strife within the department, which makes it hard to coalesce our efforts. The neighborhood preservation specialists are not required to have qualifications like the building department is, yet they will be paid more than our general inspectors who are tasked with providing building safety both for our internal customers and all external customers. Most of the electricians that are on par to get raises here will also outpace our building inspectors in pay, even though they are not required to carry the same qualifications, and they are not capable of doing our job without our oversight or assistance. I just ask that City Council be open to the future to fixing these issues, because again, I'm not trying to fight against my colleagues getting additional raises. I appreciate your time and attention on this matter. Have a good day.
Thank you, and good news. In January, the HRC, the committee that oversees this, will be looking at the electrical inspectors and recommend. We think the recommendation is for a raise, but would folks like to hear more? Okay. Councilwoman Pastor.
I just want to make a comment. If anything, I would say, at least I'll speak for myself, is that equity pay is always one thing that I strive for. Cultural competencies is what I believe everyone needs to understand and go through. And so I hear you, and I heard you of what you said. I also will make the commitment to, as the mayor, as to look at some of the recommendations and get to the level where we need to get to. I heard the electricians and that space, and I do understand that because I did ask about it and got briefed, and we are looking at that. And so I just want to put you at ease in that sense. It may not always be, as my father used to say, you may not always get what you want, but you can try. And at least I can say you are trying, and we're hearing you, and we can look at this. So thank you.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Is Dave here?
We will ask our Human Resources Director, Dave Matthews, to come on down.
Thank you. So I know that when we went through the class income study and we decided that we were going to raise everyone wages, I know that we were all committed to making sure that there was equity across the board and that everyone was treated fairly and that everyone was going to be paid according to their job classification and description. Can you just explain to us a little bit what happened here and why we need to do what we're doing and what our commitment is for everyone else that's being affected by this change?
Yes, Mayor, member of council. When we initiated the initial citywide class and comp study, we based it on local municipal markets and becoming a market leader in every classification. What we did after that is we asked employees, labor groups, department heads for classifications that they think need an additional look, as well as started looking at internal alignment. So in this case with electricians, we noticed a very high vacancy rate of 35%, about 56 vacancies in the electrician classification. So we dove into a second study on that group, and that's what's before you in this item, is increasing the pay grade for the electrician. Now we understand every time we do that, there's a downward effect, and it affects inspectors, it affects multiple classifications. So that's what the team's looking at now, is the classifications that this item affects, and those will be coming back to council most likely in February.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that explanation, just because I think it's important to be able to explain what is it that we're doing. Morale of our workers is very important to me as a council person, knowing that everyone's being paid accordingly and that everyone is happy with the job that they're doing and they get paid what they should be getting paid. So I appreciate the explanation and hoping to see this item again sometime in February, you said? seeing that item again in February so we can also take care of everyone else that's being affected by this item. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, I'll add that we have HRC that meets monthly on items like this. So anytime we do a second review, it goes to HRC, and then the month following HRC would come to city council. So it's a constant evolving look at classifications.
Right. I would just recommend then that we meet with that group of workers that are being affected by this so that we can explain it to them and being able to put them at ease and for them to understand that we are looking at them and that we are thinking of them and that we will make sure to take care of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 52 is an exciting partnership in District 5 with Habitat for Humanity. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to approve item 52.
Second.
And I'll recognize you, the Councilwoman, for comments.
Thank you. This item is a part of the Housing Department's and my office's commitment to redevelopment city-owned property in District 5 with affordable housing consistent with the third initiative in the Housing Phoenix Plan. The recommended proposer, Habitat for Humanity Central Arizona, will facilitate the construction and sale of the attached owner-occupied townhomes on 2 vacant properties adjacent to John F. and Mary P. Long Homestead Park. The proposed project design will be compatible with the character of the existing residential neighborhood surrounding the park. Through community feedback received from nearby residents, this project will offer sustainable energy efficiency and water conservation amenities for the future homeowners, and Habitat for Humanity Central Arizona will also facilitate pre and post homeowner counseling to ensure a successful home buying process for each new homeowner. Most importantly, this project will provide the community with new affordable homeownership opportunities for 8 families at or below 80% of the area median income. This is an exciting opportunity for my district, and we look forward to the additional activation of the park and neighborhood as a result of this project. I would like to thank Deputy City Manager Gina Montes in the Housing Department, Habitat for Humanity, and all of the neighbors and our neighborhood associations, North Glen Square, Jeff Spellman, everyone that has been committed to activating Homestead Park and making the changes that we need to do at that park. And we know that these 8 new homeowners will be part of that community and will help us continue to bring activation into our parks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you and congratulations. Habitat have been a great partner of ours on doing infill projects in neighborhoods, and it's so incredible to see the people who are going to live in the house be there working with it. Got to meet a mom and her young daughter, and the daughter spackled her own bedroom, which was pretty cool to see. So very excited to support this one. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Next is item 60, which is authorization to enter into an agreement with the county to accept funding for a contract with Steel and Spark for shelter and affordable housing. This includes Central Arizona Shelter Services. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 60.
Motion and a second. Bill Moreland. Bill followed by Brittany.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. I am here today just to say thank you for your support of this, your continued support of CAS, and also for your hard work that your staff did in order to set up this IGA with Maricopa County. So it's a very creative way and unique way of helping us continue to keep 600 people a night off the street, which is just amazing. And with this funding, we'll be able to continue to do that. Also, the money for Spark and Steel, I want to thank you for that because they are using that as they're doing some really creative and innovative things with affordable housing. So I think that this shows that both the county and the city are looking at both the immediate needs and then also the longer term needs. And I just wanted to thank you for all the support you've given to CAS over the years, and just let you know how much we appreciate everything that the city does and how much work the Office of Homeless Solutions is doing to help with this problem. So thank you.
Brittany is next.
Hello. I'm going to kind of just mirror what Bill said. We just want to thank you for your continued partnership and allowing us to continue to do the work that we do. So thank you.
Thank you. Council member comments? Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
I just wanted to thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to say something about this project. This will provide housing specifically for a more senior population in the district, in addition to all of the other services that Cass mentioned. This is all, I echo the sentiments raised by Bill and Brittany for the creative IGA in this situation, and it matches the creativity that Spark and Steel brings to our community. So I'm excited to support this project, and thank you for all that were involved in this project and making it and allowing it to go forward. So thank you.
Thank you. And our partners at Steel and Spark were recognized at South by Southwest for a major design award with the work they're doing to help us on affordable housing. Want to recognize Maricopa County for being a funding partner on this, and then County Supervisor Bill Gates elsewhere in the meeting did some pretty significant contributions from his own office budget to help us address housing as well. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 62 is next. I'll ask the city clerk to read the title.
Item 62 is for ordinance G7342, an ordinance amending Chapter 39, Article 1, Section 39-3 definitions, and Article 2, Section 39-6B, building and structure exteriors of the Phoenix City Code.
Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 62.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 63 is 55th Avenue Public Art Project in District 5. I will recognize Councilwoman for a motion and a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion for item 63.
Second.
Well, today is a great day for District 5, great way to end the year between vertical gardens with healthy food and affordable homes for people to be able to buy. I mean, right now we're going to talk about the artwork for this project. Consists of 3 vertical shade elements or gateways made of steel and acrylic with design developed in partnership with the community. The vertical shades depict the moon watching over the night, monarch butterflies' migration through the Sonoran Desert, and ancient cities mirrored against modern-day Phoenix living in 2 eras. Through this art shade structure, we honor the journey, history, and current lives of all of our Maryville community members. I am delighted to vote yes on this item and bring this art shade structure to the 55th Avenue Promenade. I would like to thank the our Deputy City Manager, Inger Erickson, for the help throughout the entire project, the Arts and Culture Department, and the stakeholder panel for their commitment to partaking in the development of this project, Creative Machines, and the Maryville community for partaking in this project. Also want to thank Mitch for all of your hard work. I know we've had many conversations about our projects in District 5, so very excited to see this happening. To all of our kids at John F. Long that participated in this, and the principal, thank you guys all so much for participating and making all these changes through our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to congratulate my neighbor here on the hard work that she and her team have done. A lot of great wins today for District 5. Felicidades.
All right. Happy District 5 Day. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Woohoo! Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. I'm sorry, Waring? Sorry, thank you.
Waring?
Stark?
Yes.
Gallego?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next go to item 64, which is related to janitorial services. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 64.
Second.
Motion and a second. We have one public comment from Jerry.
Thank you, council members. Jerry Van Gass, Public Watchdog. I shouldn't even be here, but I wanted to thank, he's not here, he's on vacation, Deputy City Manager John Chan for taking this issue under his wing. It should never have happened. We had a park supervisor wrongfully terminate a janitorial contract that wasn't even signed by her. It was signed by the park director, Cynthia Aguilar. And consequently, for 2 weeks, our park rangers were cleaning restrooms that they had no business even being involved in. And John managed to take it upon himself to bring back the wrongfully terminated contractors for these restrooms. Otherwise, we'd still have rangers trying to clean restrooms as open the gate and all the hikers show up. Phoenix Mountain Parks, if it were a national park, the amount of usage would be second only in the country to the Shenandoah Mountains, the Smoky Mountains. And yet here we are screwing around with a petty grievance from a park supervisor. This should never have happened. Our attorneys have put in for all kinds of record requests for how this even happened. We've received nothing. And we're going to keep pursuing it until we get some answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira?
Yes.
Guardado?
Yes.
Hodge Washington?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Waring? Stark?
Yes.
Gallego?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 66 is a public hearing and resolution to approve the 2025 Downtown Enhanced Municipal Services District assessments. We'll open the public hearing. We do not have anyone to testify. We'll close the public hearing. Do we have any comments? Vice Mayor.
I move to approve item 66.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira?
Yes.
Guardado?
Yes.
Hodge Washington?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Waring? Stark?
Yes.
Gallego?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 73 is Axon Products, Parts, and Accessories Contract. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 73.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have several public comments. Does anyone wish to comment before? All right. We will begin with Guadalupe Anaya. Guadalupe, followed by Maria. Maria Proxima.
Por favor, de pausar después de 1 o 2 oraciones.
Hola, buenas tardes. Yo soy Guadalupe Anaya y estoy aquí porque me opongo al artículo 73.
Por favor, de pausar. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Guadalupe Anaya. I'm here because I oppose Article 73.
No dar a la policía 22 millones para pistolas.
No le entendí, señora, la primera parte. Disculpe.
Que
She
no
said
dar,
no to 22 million for police.
hay muchas cosas que necesita nuestra comunidad como para poner ese dinero para la policía.
She says that there's a lot of needs in the community and that's where the money should go.
Gracias.
Maria Avalos. Maria and Angelina Gill.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Ábalos.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria.
Estoy aquí no estoy de acuerdo al artículo 73, no más dinero a la policía para gastos de armas nuevas. Al vecindario ocupa más
I
ayuda
apologize. I can't interpret it.
en alumbramientos
Pause.
a las calles, reparaciones de parques.
¿Puede parar
Señora.
tantito para poderle traducir?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can't. If she keeps, I can't memorize all that, man.
Jeff, is there anyone else that can translate?
Well, she just needs to pause.
Oh, she keeps pausing and we still can't translate, so.
Puedes hacerlo otra vez, pero en...
Buenas tardes.
Acérquese, entonces vamos a, we'll let him, so.
Let's just try with 2 sentences at a time.
Okay. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Ábalos.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Avalos.
No estoy de acuerdo al artículo 73.
I don't agree with Article 73.
No más dinero a la policía para gastos de armas nuevas.
¿Gastos de qué, señora?
De armas nuevas.
She
Armas de
says
fuego.
no more tasers for the police.
Nuestro vecindario ocupa más ayuda para alumbramiento en las calles.
Our neighborhoods need more money for the improvements of the streets.
She says that they need more lighting.
Pagos accesibles para pagos de renta
And also for payments for rent.
y reparaciones de parques.
And also park repairs.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Angelina, and then Percy Christian.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Angelina, ya me conocen, he venido varias veces. Y
My
en
name
es-
is Angelina. You know me.
en
I've been
esta
here several
ocasión,
times.
estamos aquí porque estamos en desacuerdo con la proposición 73
We're here because we're not in agreement with Proposal 73.
y la razón es porque sabemos que las armas que son tasers también matan,
Because we know
torturan,
also the weapons of tasers also kill.
torturan a nuestra comunidad y no estamos de acuerdo con la tortura. En este país que yo sepa no se usa.
They torture our community. We're not in agreement with them torturing in this country.
Tenemos muchas necesidades,
We have a lot of needs,
no nada más armas.
not just weapons.
Hoy tenemos una persona que murió en manos de la policía.
Today we have one person that died because at the hands of police.
En este caso lo que yo estoy mirando es que estamos cambiando con qué arma los vamos a matar al ser más fuertes.
In this case, we're saying we're just cambiando qué?
En este caso lo que estamos haciendo es tratando de ver con qué armas vamos a disparar, ya que al hacerlas más
In this case, we're
fuertes
saying what weapons we're going to use to fire.
son igual de letales.
They're the same as lethal. They're very lethal.
La diferencia es que si van a morir torturados
The difference is they're going to die being tortured
o van a morir inmediatamente.
or they're going to die immediately.
Y yo pienso que eso no es lo que necesitamos.
And I think that's not what we need.
Yo creo que necesitamos ayuda para viviendas,
I think we need help for housing.
necesitamos recursos para salud mental,
We need resources for mental health.
pero lo que estamos haciendo ahorita con la 73 van a ser más muertes,
But what we're doing here with 73 is there's going to be more deaths.
sea por disparos con taser o de la manera que sea.
Or it's with fired by with tasers or guns.
A mí me gustaría saber que tuvieran otra proposición,
I would like you to have a different proposal
porque sabemos que violencia trae más violencia.
because we know that violence brings more violence.
Entonces, nadie se va a querer esperar a que le disparen con un taser de ese calibre.
And no one's gonna wait for them to be tased with that type of taser.
Y yo sé que todos tenemos familia.
And we know we all have family.
Y yo quisiera que ustedes imaginaran que un familiar de ustedes estuviera recibiendo un taser de esa medida.
And I would like for you to imagine one of your family members being tased with that type of taser.
O cambiar a las otras balas.
Or change the different bullets.
¿Verdad que no queremos ninguna?
You know, right? We don't want either one.
Yo pienso que nadie quiere eso.
I don't think anyone wants that.
Ustedes no lo quieren para ustedes, tampoco nosotros para nuestra
And
comunidad.
if you don't want it for yourself, we don't want it for our community.
Sé que todos tenemos hijos, sobrinos, nietos.
We all have sons,
Sobrinos,
nephews,
nietos,
and grandchildren,
hermanos,
brothers,
y no queremos ver a uno de ellos
and we don't want to see one of them
en ese episodio.
in that type of episode.
Entonces, lo que no queremos para nosotros, no debemos de quererlo para la comunidad.
And what we don't want for ourselves, we shouldn't want for our community.
Es la razón como yo estoy mirando la situación y es la razón por la cual yo me opongo.
That's how I see the situation. That's why I oppose it.
Pongámonos en los zapatos de esas familias.
Put ourselves in the shoes of those families.
Yo sé que todos queremos proteger nuestra vida
I know we all want to protect our lives
y nuestras familias.
and our families.
Y así como ustedes quieren proteger la de ustedes, nosotros también la de nosotros.
And like you want to protect your families, we want to protect ours.
¿Por qué más tortura?
Why more torture?
Yo me hago la pregunta.
I asked myself the question.
Quisiera que alguien me la pudiera contestar.
I wish someone can answer that.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Percy is next, followed by Miros.
It's terrifying and infuriating that we have to be here again. My name is Percy Christian, and I currently live in District 7. And as I look around this chamber, I'm reminded of the deep betrayal that this council perpetuates every time you choose to fund police violence over community needs. As someone who was harassed by the police department in 2020 during the protest, I know firsthand how this system operates. Your officers painted me as a threat for daring to speak out against their violence, but I'm still here, and I won't stop coming back until the system of oppression and the violence is dismantled. The timing of this $22 million taser proposal is a slap in the face for every Phoenix resident. Just months after the DOJ exposed the Phoenix Police Department's pattern of excessive force, just weeks after your officers beat and repeatedly tased Tyrone McAlpin, a deaf black man with cerebral palsy, and in the same year you were forced to pay out millions of settlements for police violence, you have the audacity to continue to ask for more weapons. Now let's talk about this timing. You're rushing to approve this massive weapons purchase right as the city faces a budget deficit. Mayor Gallego, you sit here claiming we need to tighten our belts and cut community services, while Councilmember O'Brien continues to parrot pleased talking points about how the DOJ's finding are just accusations. The hypocrisy is stunning. You sit here today surrounded by the very forces that terrorize communities, considering whether to hand over millions of dollars for new tasers, weapons that our own Department of Justice investigation exposed as being used to brutalize our people. The same department that profiles black and brown residents, that destroys the belongings of unhoused neighbors, that shoots people who pose no threat. And you want to reward the violence with $22 million more dollars. Just 2 months ago, we watched your officers tase McAlpin multiple times while he was already restrained on the ground. He couldn't hear their commands because he's deaf, but that didn't stop them from brutalizing him. And now you want to give them more tasers. And now you want to give them more weapons to abuse us, more tools to terrorize disabled people, black people, brown people, and unhoused people. Let's be crystal clear about what you're doing. Every time you vote to increase police funding, you are actively choosing to perpetuate a system built on the oppression of black and brown people and community members. Your legacies will be defined for decades by
Thank you. Miros is next, followed by Ann Ender.
voy a poder interpretar yo misma, sorry. Hi there, good afternoon. First off, I heard a lot of equity being thrown around, and you have a panel of individuals that are Spanish speaking, and they're Phoenix residents. They should be able to have the accessible assistance to be able to understand these meetings. If you see me up there, I've been translating the whole meeting for them. I'm not being paid by the city of Phoenix. This is your job to be able to offer these services for people. So they're able to understand what is happening in their city. And it's maybe something you should think about, because we should have this space filled up with community members. And just to echo what my colleagues are stating, not sure why the police department deserves another $22 million to continue brutalizing Black and brown lives, especially individuals in Maryville. Especially, we have to look at the statistics of people that are being harmed. I am an aunt. I'm here because every time I look at the face of my niece and nephew, the last thing I want to think about is when they grow up, how horrible they're going to experience the police violence, and if police violence is going to enter my home. So you have a panel of people here that are speaking for the people that cannot be here at this time, at this hour, facing you, and even also not having the proper assistance to be able to communicate with you and their needs.
Thank you. Ann Ender is next, followed by Aram.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego, Vice Mayor Stark, and council members. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Ann Ender. I am the founder and president of Operation Blue Ribbon. And I just can't believe where this year's gone. Nonetheless, I think this is a great way to end the year by approving this. Our officers need technology and resources in order to effectively police and provide our public safety. So, you know, in light too of the fact that I think the last number I saw, we have 922 officers on patrol for 1.7 million people. We have to give our police department the resources they need. And for the last year, I think we've heard people say we need less lethal options, and that's what this is. So those who don't want that in their communities will take it. We want public safety. And let's also remember that these options, these also protect our officers. You know, when they're able to deploy something like this, when someone's about to shoot them, it might save their lives. And I think that's really important to think about. So please approve this. And I just want to thank you all for a good year and for being able to work with all of you. And I wish you all the best for the holidays. Thank you.
Aram is next, followed by David.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mayor Kate, City Council, I just want to say that I just want to give thanks to the police department because they do a great job. We're not saying that they don't, but to be honest, we're against 73, and we strongly believe that that money can go more towards communities because having more guns, having more tasers, we already have guns, right? Because I know that that's what the police carries and tasers as well. But having more is not gonna decrease the violence. It's actually gonna increase it more by giving them more guns and stuff like that. In November of 2024, there was 2 shootings within less than 24 hours. How do we explain that to people? You know, of everything that the police is doing. Not like long ago, 2 months ago, there was another shooting by the police, and I believe it was yesterday or the day before there was another shooting. So we strongly believe that we can take that money and that we can use it for, instead of guns, we can try to use it for resources. We can actually, buy create some literature to hand out to people. We can build these resource places. We can use it to go out to schools and speak to the kids, speak to the teenagers. That way we can teach them about violence, and tell them how violence is not good. We can use this towards that instead of, giving the police more money, more guns and stuff like that. We could also use it for housing, which is a big issue, because housing is expensive. And I think that if we made it more accessible and if we found a way for to make the rules easier when you apply for housing, we wouldn't have this big issue. And we could also use some of that money to educate people, because Glendale area, which I know we're not in that issue right now, but we also got Phoenix. The drug issue is a big thing that we seriously need to work on. Those are, I find, more important, that's a more important issue than, the guns and all that stuff. We need to work on the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. David y Blanca Proxima.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es David Marroquín.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is David Marroquín.
Estoy aquí nada más estoy en contra de la 73.
I'm here only because I'm against 73.
No en contra de la policía ni de los oficiales.
Not against the police or the officers.
Nada más, yo creo que no necesitamos más armas para poder retener a una persona.
I don't think we need more weapons to detain a person.
Quizás hay otra manera de prepararlos en defensa propia, karate, taekwondo, no sé.
Maybe there's another way to prepare them, like self-defense, karate, taekwondo, I don't know.
Porque parece que estamos en guerra con la ciudad de Phoenix, como que estamos en combate.
It's like if we're at war with the city of Phoenix, like we're in combat.
Ese dinero, como lo han dicho muchos compañeros, podría servir para otras cosas.
That money, like my colleagues have mentioned, they can be used for other things.
Como para viviendas,
like housing,
parques,
parks,
alumbrados,
alumbrados
públicos,
lighting.
Y para las personas indigentes que andan en la calle, poderlas ayudar de una manera también.
And the people that are on the streets to help them in some way.
Yo creo que es todo. Gracias.
That's everything. Thank you.
Blanca y Maria Proxima.
Buenas tardes tengan todos ustedes.
You all have a good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Blanca y soy del sur de Phoenix.
My name is Blanca and I'm from South Phoenix.
Hoy vengo a hablar de algo
I'm here to talk about something
que no podemos ignorar.
we can't ignore it.
La ignorancia
The ignorance
de cómo identificar
and how to identify
las necesidades de una comunidad
the needs of a community
con sus necesidades
with their needs
ya existentes
already existing
de su misma comunidad.
in their own community.
donde se promueva
where it's promoted
una sostenibilidad para todos.
sustainability for everybody.
No podemos avanzar juntos
We can't advance together
porque hemos perdido la confianza
because we've lost confidence
y más la confianza en los que nos representan.
and the confidence we have in the ones that represent
I'm
us.
sorry, she means trust.
Gracias por traducir. La seguridad pública
Public security,
se obtiene
you can obtain it
avanzando juntos.
advancing together.
Es increíble escuchar
It's incredible to listen
que van a dar 22 millones de dólares para comprar más armas a la policía.
that they're going to buy. They're going to pay $22 million to buy more weapons for the police.
¿Saben para qué necesito esos 2 millones?
You know what I need those millions for?
En el sur de Phoenix no tenemos centros comunitarios.
In South Phoenix, we don't have community centers.
No los tenemos accesibles.
They're not accessible.
Llevo un grupo de niños jóvenes de folclore que son 58 niños.
I have a group of children. There's 58 folclórico.
Sí. Practicamos en la calle.
We practice in the streets.
Tenemos un centro comunitario que está en la 7 calle y la Sader,
We have a community center that's on 7th Street in Southern.
perteneciente al distrito 8,
It belongs to District 8,
y no es accesible a la comunidad latina.
and it's not accessible to the Latin community.
¿Qué está pasando?
What's happening?
Yo los exhorto
I exhort
a que se puedan levantar de sus asientos
that you can stand up from your seats
y se involucren con la comunidad,
and join the community.
que vean esas necesidades que hacen falta con la comunidad latina.
That you see the needs that are needed in the Latin community.
Un claro ejemplo de todo eso,
A big example of this,
tenemos una déficit de traducción que no nos entiende ni siquiera el español.
that we have a deficit of speakers that don't understand what we're saying.
¿Qué podemos hacer como comunidad latina? Venir a expresarlo a nuestro representante. Hey, tenemos necesidades y necesitamos ayuda.
How can we say, come to our these meetings to our representatives?
Necesitamos más lugares verdes
We need
para
more
que
green spaces
el jardín sea más provechoso para nuestros jóvenes.
so the garden's more beneficial for our
Llevo un grupo de
young ones.
jóvenes que estamos exhortándolos para que sean productos bien para la comunidad.
We have a group of young ones that we're trying to encourage so they can be productive part of the community.
Y entonces, ¿y esos 2 millones para qué? Para que a nosotros de nuestros impuestos se los vayan gastando.
And for those 2 million so they can be wasted on our tax money.
Nuestros barrios no necesitan más armas.
Our neighborhoods don't need more weapons.
No necesitamos más dinero para la policía.
We don't need more money for the police.
Yo no quiero tener más recortes de dinero para la comunidad.
I don't want more budget cuts from the community.
Cada dólar gastado
Every dollar wasted
para gastarlo en armas
is spent on weapons.
es un dólar robado a la comunidad.
It's a dollar stolen from the community.
¿Sí saben lo que está pasando en el sur de Phoenix con la construcción del tren ligero?
Do you know what's happening with South
Vayan y
Phoenix
chequen eso. Gracias por
Look at that.
escuchar
Thank you for listening.
y que Dios los bendiga a todos en esta
And
Navidad.
God bless.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hutch Washington.
Thank you. I want to make sure someone from my office speaks with her to confirm. We want to clarify the inaccessibility of the community center that she mentioned. If we can get some more detail, can you connect with her, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Maria.
Buenas
Bertha
tardes, mi nombre es
Proxima.
María Mora y
Good-
estoy aquí porque también estoy en contra de la 73.
Good afternoon. My name
No.
is Maria Mora, and I'm here because I also oppose 73.
No más dinero a la policía. No,
No.
necesitan más armas para llevar un estado o una ciudad
No more money for the weapons for the police.
segura.
We don't need that for a safe state or city.
Y le voy a decir por qué.
And I'll tell you why.
Yo vivo en Glendale. Una vez fuera de mi casa hubo
I
un
live in
inconveniente,
I live in Glendale, and one time outside of my home,
no de mi familia, era una pareja que iba pasando.
there was a couple passing by.
El muchacho nunca se resistió a que lo detuvieran
The gentleman never resisted to be detained,
y la policía,
and the police,
no puedo decir qué palabra utilizar para describirla,
I
pero
can't think
fue
of a word to
abusiva.
describe it.
fue muy abusiva con la persona
They were
esta.
very abusive with the person.
En mi casa hay pura piedra afuera. Le talló la cara en las piedras.
I have rock in front of my home, and they scraped his face.
Llegaron 20 policías.
20 police officers arrived.
Llevaban una niña como de 2, 3 años.
They had a child, a girl was 2, 3 years old.
Cuando se supone que la policía, la comunidad, debemos de proteger al menor.
And it's supposed they were supposed to protect the minors.
Incluso abusaron de esa pareja delante de su hija.
They abused that couple in front of their child.
Yo tomé video, yo lo entregué a la policía.
I recorded it, and I turned over that recording to the police.
Entonces, imagínense, casi 20 policías para una pareja. ¿Qué podía resistirse la pareja? Creo que no.
Imagine 20 police officers for a couple. How could they resist? I don't think so.
Entonces no necesitamos armas. Si ustedes son
We don't need
20
weapons.
para detener a 2 personas,
You don't need 20
no
to detain 2.
necesitamos armas. Necesitamos saber hablar, necesitamos saber comunicarnos.
We need to know how to speak, how to communicate.
Ese dinero, esos 22 millones para la policía, los podemos utilizar a nuestra comunidad. Queremos ver calles limpias.
Those 22 millions we could be used in our community. We want to see clean streets.
Hay muchos homeless en las calles que
There's a
no
lot
son
of homeless in the
adictos.
streets.
No son adictos, simple y sencillamente no pudieron seguir pagando su renta porque se quedaron sin trabajo.
They're not addicts. They're just simply, they could not simply pay their rent, and they're out in the streets.
Entonces los están obligando a esto, ¿verdad?
And they're being forced to do this.
Y estos otros homeless que desgraciadamente caen en las drogas,
And unfortunately, there are homeless that are on drugs,
también necesitan ayuda.
and they also need help.
Porque a veces hemos llamado a la policía
And sometimes we have called the police.
y ¿saben qué nos han contestado?
And you know what they say?
Salgan de esa parte porque es peligrosa. Mas nunca he visto llegar.
Move from that area because it's dangerous. I've never seen them arrive.
Por eso no más armas, sino más comunicación. Por favor, gracias.
No more weapons, more communication. Thank you.
Bertha y Gloria Proxima.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos los concejales.
Good afternoon to the council.
Bueno, yo estoy aquí porque me opongo también a la propuesta 73.
I'm here also because I oppose Proposal 73.
No necesitamos tener más armas para mantener seguras nuestras comunidades.
We don't need more weapons to have a safe community.
Necesitamos que se invierta más en nuestra comunidad.
We need you to invest more in our community.
22 millones para la policía es mucho. Hace un año nos dieron apenas 2 millones para viviendas.
22 million is a lot for the police. Last year, 2 million was for housing.
¿Por qué no hacemos un cambio?
Why don't we do
Denos
it?
20 millones a la comunidad y den 2 millones a la policía.
Let's do a change. 20 million for the community and 2 million for the police.
Necesitamos más viviendas asequibles,
We need more accessible housing,
más recursos para salud mental,
more resources for mental health,
mejores parques.
better parks.
Necesitamos mucha ayuda, centros de arte, centros donde nuestros niños vayan a pasar el rato, donde se entretengan, donde aprendan cosas.
We need a lot of things like art centers for our children, or centers for our children so they can learn things.
Hay mucha necesidad también de aprendizaje, como lo que dijo Blanca Barca.
And we also need a lot of help for learning, like Blanca said.
Ella tiene un grupo, pero no tiene recursos para seguir adelante con más niños.
She has a group, but she doesn't have enough resources to continue with more kids.
Eso es lo que necesita nuestra comunidad, nuestras familias, no que nos estén torturando.
That's what our community needs and what our families need, not to continue to be tortured.
La policía nunca va a resolver los problemas que nosotros realmente nos perjudican.
The police is not going to resolve the problems that are troubling us.
Por favor, busquen otras soluciones para resolver los problemas.
Find another solution to solve our problems.
La policía es muy violenta y ustedes lo saben muy bien.
The police is very violent, and you know it very well.
Con nuestra gente de color, ellos abusan del poder que tienen.
They abuse the colored people.
Así es que por favor les pido que tomen acción, busquen otras maneras de solucionar los problemas.
Take a different action, find a different way to solve the problems.
Estas armas no lo van a solucionar.
These weapons are not going to solve it.
Igual también van a matar a nuestra gente, a nuestros hijos, a nuestros padres, a nuestros hermanos.
They're going to kill our people, our fathers, our brothers.
No sé por qué están trayendo estas armas. Ellos no saben qué persona vaya a tener problemas de salud. Aún así, con estas armas, ellos pueden matarlos.
I don't know why they're bringing these type of weapons. They don't know what type of health problem the person may have.
Solo pido a Dios que les dé más sabiduría para poder tomar mejores decisiones que en verdad afectan a la comunidad.
I just ask God that you have more wisdom to solve the problems that are affecting the community.
Y gracias a Laura porque ahorita ella nos apoyó para conseguir un presupuesto para el Parque Ensueño que está en la 43 Avenida. Ese parque se está viviendo más gente, se está viendo más bonito. Gracias por ese apoyo. Nuestra gente está contenta. Ayer inclusive tuvimos una reunión y la gente se expresa muy bonito, Laura. Están diciendo, están poniendo juegos nuevos, están haciendo esto. Gracias, Laura, por eso y esperamos que sigas haciendo más para este distrito. Gracias.
It was too much for me to interpret, Laura. She's just thanking you for the park. I apologize.
Gloria
Mi nombre es
y
Gloria
Estela Próxima.
y también estoy en desacuerdo de esa ley de tener más armas. Acabo de adoptar 3 nietos y no me gustaría...
Señora.
Sí. Gracias.
Okay, perdón.
My name is Gloria. I'm also here because I don't want the more weapons. I just adopted 3 children.
Sí, y no me gustaría que ellos en un futuro sean afectados por estas armas.
And I would not want them to be affected in the future because of these weapons.
Creo que centros comunitarios para jóvenes sería mejor empleado más dinero para eso y no para violencia, porque
A community
violencia
center for the children and for the young ones would be better use of that money.
genera violencia.
Violence, weapons brings more violence.
Es todo lo que quiero decir y dar gracias a la persona que ha hecho bien para nuestra comunidad, para ese parque que se está haciendo un cambio.
And I just want to thank the person that's
Gracias.
responsible to help us with that park that's making a change.
Estela, followed by Roland.
Buenas tardes
Good afternoon
a todos los concejales, a todas las personas que están aquí.
to the whole
Qué bueno
council
que-
and everyone that's here.
Qué bueno que hay que hablar pausado porque ahorita no tengo voz.
I have to pause. I don't have a voice right now.
Pero solo quiero hablar que estoy en contra del punto 73 en la agenda.
I just want to say that I'm against point 73 on the agenda.
No necesitamos más armas.
We don't need more weapons.
No queremos que 22 millones se vayan a la policía para comprar armas,
We don't want the 22 million to go to the police to buy more weapons.
porque hay mucha necesidad en la comunidad.
There's a lot of need in the community.
Escucho a todos los concejales hablar de mejoras que están haciendo, ¿verdad?
I hear the councils talking about all the improvements they made,
Y me gustaría creer también que está pasando todo esto.
and I would like to believe that it's all happening.
Como dijeron mis compañeras,
Like my colleague said,
Laura Pastor ha estado trabajando junto a la comunidad
Laura Pastor has been working with the community,
y es bonito
and it's
que la
beautiful.
gente misma de la comunidad de nosotros vaya y nos diga lo que está pasando en este parque,
And,
en
it's-
este,
and the people in the community say what's happening with this park.
en este parque donde realmente nosotros fuimos y vimos que no era un parque como para la comunidad.
When we went to this park and it wasn't a park for the community.
También a Carlos Galindo es una de las personas también que ha estado apoyando a nuestra comunidad.
And also
también lo
Carlos
quiero
Galindo has been
decir.
supporting the community.
Entonces creo que si hay un punto de poder entendernos entre comunidad y concilio.
And then so there's a point that we can understand each other as a council and a community.
Y lo único que estamos pidiendo nosotros es no más dinero a la policía
And the only thing
para
we're
armas.
asking is no more money to the police for weapons.
Eso no nos hace más seguros,
That does not make us safer.
no nos da seguridad a nuestra comunidad,
It does not give us security in our community.
pero más seguros sí nos hacen que planten árboles,
But it makes us safer if they plant a tree
que arreglen nuestros parques
and they fix our parks
y muchas cosas más.
and other things also.
Necesitamos viviendas asequibles.
We need affordable housing.
Hay mucha gente viviendo en la calle
There's a lot of people living on the streets.
y sabemos que culpa fue COVID-19
And we know it was COVID-19's fault.
y prometieron hacer una y muchas cosas
And they promised one thing and another.
y ya pasaron casi 5 años.
And it's almost been 5 years.
Necesitamos,
We need,
si no quieren ustedes,
and if you don't
protestas,
want,
interrupciones,
you don't want
que
protests or
trabajen junto
interruptions,
con nuestra comunidad.
work together with our community.
No más dinero a la policía, no más armas taser.
No more money for the police, no taser weapons.
Inviertan en los recursos que realmente necesita la comunidad.
Invest in the resources that the community really needs.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Roland is next. Y Justina, after Roland.
Hello. I'm against 73. I like to say this. I found a problem with the city with not doing anything for the youth. And instead of just identifying that problem, I came up with a solution. I started the Jacob Michael Harris Nonprofit Foundation. I funded that myself. So what I sat here and I went to the city of Phoenix and asked the city of Phoenix put their money where their mouth was and invest in this foundation to help protect this youth. I was told there is no money by the city, but yet then here we are today talking about giving this Phoenix PD $22 million. So you want to weaponize and over-weaponize occupying force in these communities by giving them $22 million, but you don't want to give $1 to protect these children. You say you want safer communities. Well, the way you make those safer communities is you give these youth somewhere positive to come, and give them the opportunity to be around positive adults who can mentor these children to prevent them from going out and committing crimes and making a bad decision like my son did that cost him his life. So if you want to think that giving these police officers more tasers is going to minimize the police contact or the violence from these police, it's not. In Jacob's case, the less lethal force was used after Jacob was already shot, after deadly force was already used. So giving them the less lethal option, they don't even use it anyway. So what I'm here to just say is, if you want to care about this community, you say you care about this community, put your money where your mouth is. Instead of funding this police force, give the money to the kids. And another thing, what I like to say is this here. I'm not against the police, never have been, but to sit here and continue to give the police money every time they mess up is the pure definition of insanity. You keep giving them money thinking things are going to change, and nothing's changed. We continue to get the same results. We continue to have this community beaten, brutalized, and murdered. Thank you.
Thank you. Justina.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos los concejales.
Hi, good afternoon to the council.
Mi nombre es Justina.
My name is Justina.
Yo estoy aquí parada en este lugar porque no estoy de acuerdo con la procesión, con la 73.
I'm here in this place because I'm against 73.
Porque yo he sido afectada
Because I've been affected
por la justicia.
from the justice.
Un policía de apellido Jenser
Officer named Youngster.
En abril 29 del 19, él mató a mi hijo.
April 19th of 19.
Por eso,
Killed my son.
nunca
Never.
voy a estar de acuerdo
I will never be in agreement
que les puedan dar dinero a ellos,
to give them money
porque el estado de Arizona
because the state of Arizona,
es el número 1 mortífero
it's the number one in deaths
y la violencia
and violence,
acarrea violencia.
and violence brings violence.
Nosotros necesitamos
We need
seguridad.
safety.
Nuestra comunidad
Our community
necesita seguridad.
needs safety.
Campos libres.
Parks, free parks,
Iluminación.
lighting,
Y no estoy de acuerdo con la violencia.
and I'm not in agreement with the violence.
Y nunca voy a estar de acuerdo
And I'm never going to be
que
in
los
agreement
policías
that the police
reciban
receive
millones
millions
y más millones
and more millions
para que sigan comprando armas.
to keep buying weapons.
Nunca voy a estar de acuerdo.
I'm never going to be in
Y
agreement.
muchísimas gracias. Que
And
Dios
thank you
los
very much,
bendiga.
and God bless.
Que Dios los bendiga y buenas Navidades.
God bless and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. That concludes public testimony. I will turn to council members for comments. Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's incredibly important that we listen to the public, and a lot has been said here today, and I don't want anyone to think that we are not listening. I firmly believe we are, and I see Chief Sullivan is here at the police department, and several members of the police department are here as well with him. It's important that we listen, but I think it's also important that we acknowledge at least two reasons why we are asking for this expenditure for tasers. Number one, the current tasers are outdated. An outdated tool will, in my opinion, and that's based on well over 36 years in law enforcement, that outdated tool will put police officers in a position where they would not be able to, well, they would be forced to use other force measures because they no longer have that. So I think it's important that we understand that the current tasers that the officers have, it's outdated. It's outlived its usefulness. Axon Taser, the maker of this particular tool, this instrument, the taser itself, they have come up with a better model. It's the Model 10, and what it will allow is for a police officer, it allows more time and space. And what that time and space hopefully will do, I know it doesn't happen all the time, but hopefully it will allow de-escalation to take place that will not result in the use of deadly force. The best example I can give you on the new taser, it now has a 45-foot limit. So basically from where I stand all the way almost to the very back row for its effectiveness of that particular tool. Again, that gives the officers the opportunity to do other things and most hopefully de-escalate the situation. Again, we've heard what people have to say, but I think it's equally as important to understand what we are doing is, and this is something I am voting for, we are giving our police officers a tool that will help them hopefully be more effective in their role. And I started off by saying it was incredibly important that we hear you, and the members of the police department were here and they heard you. We understand what the concerns are, whether you agree with them or disagree, whatever it may happen to be. I just think this is an important tool. I think it's one we have to have. I think it will allow our police officers, like I said, to be in a position to make more effective, hopefully better decisions in situations that requires the use of some level of force. Mayor, thank you for the time.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilwoman O'Brien and then Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Robinson answered a couple of these, but I just would like to have you guys on the record. How long have we been using less lethal resources? and the Phoenix Police Department.
Mayor Gaggo, members of the council, Councilwoman O'Brien, we have used less than lethal tools, and I'm looking back and I have the number in my head, I believe since 2000. When I was a patrol officer, we had the initial taser, which was the X26 model.
Okay, and do we have additional less lethal resources available to our officers today besides this tool?
Yes, ma'am, we have the 40 millimeter, which is a rubber projectile. We have pepper ball, and we have the taser.
And what are the safety features of this resource?
I'll also add that we have our pepper spray, which is now called Repulse, as another less lethal that we carry. So we do have a few options there.
Thank you.
I apologize. Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, can you repeat the second part of your question?
What are the safety features of the item that is on the agenda today for purchase, the Axon Taser 10?
Mayor Gallego, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, some of the features that we have are, as Councilman Robinson brought up, is that double range. So the Taser 7 has a range of 25 feet, the Taser 10 has a range of 45 feet, which allows for that distance that the officers can stand away from the subject, which allows for us more communication time and things like that nature to de-escalate a situation. But that distance is helpful. It also has an audible deterrent with it, which we noticed in our pilot program that we did in the Maryvale Estrella precinct, that the sound of just turning on the taser resulted in actually less deployments of it because the sound was enough to make the person comply. So that meant that the person wasn't affected by the taser, it was just the sound. And we were able to safely take them into custody and handle that situation. And the taser also has significantly lower voltage than the Taser 7, the Taser 10 does. So we feel that those are very strong safety components of the new tool.
And can you explain the significance of why the distance of 25 to 45 feet? What is the significance of that being a safety feature?
Mayor Gallego, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, the distance is really important for us because it allows us the ability to stand behind cover, and it allows us more time to communicate with the subject and see what's going on with them and use our ICAP principles, a lot of our communication techniques that we learn as well for de-escalation. But when rushed on time, it allows us more time to assess the situation, assess the person that we're dealing with, and we believe that it leads to a lot less uses of force.
And when a subject you might be interacting with complies, is there a need for our officers to use these resources?
Mayor Gallego, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, if a subject is complying, absolutely not. We can take them into custody in a very safe, controlled manner that doesn't involve the use of the taser.
And is that always the first choice of the Phoenix Police Department?
Mayor Gallego, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, no, it's not always the first choice. Our first choice is to use our communication and
communication
yes.
is. I didn't word my
Communication is the first
question
choice.
well. Communication is your first choice to get compliance, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado, and then I think Councilman Robinson had a clarifier.
Thank you, Mayor. I will first just want to thank the community for coming out today, and I agree. I think I'm seeing the person that's translating for folks in our community, so I think we definitely need to work on those issues that we have. I can see how frustrating it could be for someone that's translating as well, but when people get up and are speaking and they're talking about very personal matters to them, I think we just need to figure out how is it that we are able to communicate with the community much, much better. I think that's something that's very important because I think it keeps coming up every time folks that don't speak English come out and speak. So Jeff, I think we really need to work on that and figure out a better system for translation, just because a lot of the stories that we hear are very personal. And when folks come out and speak, it takes a lot for them to come out and being able to voice what they're feeling. So I think we need to have a little bit more respect for that. With that being said, I would like some clarification regarding the new use of force policies set to be implemented in January. Specifically, I would like to know if these policies will cover the use of tasers, and if so, how they will be addressed within the framework of the new guidelines.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Guardado, the new use of force policy, which comes out or will be in effect at the end of January, does cover this use of force. It categorizes each use of force and defines use of force. The three main things we're looking for in the new use of force is necessary, proportional, and reasonableness. In the new use of force policy, the use of a taser will be categorized as a level 2 use of force. And that level 2 use of force would get more scrutiny than it currently does in the current use of force policy.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one thing I wanted to expound on a little bit. Councilwoman O'Brien asked the question as to when did we first talking about these types of tools, specifically about tasers. And I think it's important for us to understand from a historical perspective, the Phoenix Police Department was the first major police department in the United States to outfit its entire patrol division with tasers. And I believe it was back in the year 2003, the early part of 2003, because in 2002, we had a record number of officer-involved shootings. At the time, the police chief, a guy by the name of Harold Hurt, the city manager, and actually the city council were truly concerned about that level of force, having never seen that level of force or that amount of force being used in the city, wanted something done about it. And at that point, we instituted tasers throughout the entire patrol division. The following year, we cut shootings by over 70%, if I remember correctly. So it's important that we understand this is a tool. And as Councilwoman O'Brien mentioned, it allows for that separation, that time, that opportunity for the police officers, as I said as well, for the officers to de-escalate situations. So I just thought it was important that that be added as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions. The first one is to Chief Benza. I'd like to know the status of training on the new use of force policy. Where are we at, and when do we anticipate to get to 100%?
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Galindo Elvira, I will have to defer that to Commander Garza, who runs our training bureau. She and her staff have prepared a training plan for this, and I'll let her talk about that.
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Galindo Elvira, lo siento. Our training, your question was for the training of the use of force policy, correct?
Yes, the updated one.
The updated use of force policy should be, we've completed just about everybody. We're almost at 100% completion rate, which was our goal, was the end of the year. And we will do an update with the updated use of force policy. That will be out by the end of January. We'll do a video for a refresher on that policy, is my understanding.
Thank you, Commander. And Lori, my question to you is, I want clarification on the expenditure for the purchase of the taser devices. This is an expenditure from the police department's budget. It does not co-op other monies from other departments. Is that correct?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Galindo Elvira, yes and no. So yes, this is an expenditure from the police department's budget. There are some additional monies that are being added to the police department's budget in order to move this contract forward should it be approved today. So funds for the first year of the contract are currently available in the police department's budget, but for years 2, 3, 4, and 5, it will require an increase. For example, in year 2, it'll require a cost increase of $3.7 million.
But my question was more directed toward, we are not going to be taking money from services, community services specifically, to pay for this. This is directly from the police budget. Is that correct?
Councilmember Elvira, Mayor, members of the council, the increase that is reflected in year 1 is being absorbed within the police department budget. The subsequent years, they are an increase. However, we have not yet built the 25-26 budget. So I'm not saying that I'm taking it from, or we're taking it from any known service, but we have not yet built the 25-26 budget. So at this time, we don't know what our status is for 25-26. We won't know that until February 25th.
Thank you, Jeff.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Okay. I'm going to follow up on that.
So if I read this correctly, it says this year, the first year, which I'm assuming is this year when we vote, that it's coming from the police department's budget. The rest of the years, it's going to have to be built in the budget for the department. My question is, how is it that we have the money this year and we can't figure out in their budget how to incorporate 2 through 5 in their own budget? Why do we have to add additional?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, that's a good question. The money for this year is coming from savings in the existing budget. So the contract itself was not built into the budget for this fiscal year. And if it begins in January, then half of the fiscal year will need to be covered via other savings in the police department's budget.
Okay.
And the projection is that the police department will be able to do that this year. Going forward, the expenditures, the estimates for the expenditures in the police department, including everything from salaries to overtime to other contractual expenditures, the estimate is that there will be a need to add funds in order to accommodate this contract. And so that's why we want to be transparent with the council and the community that the intent is to add additional funds going into the budget planning for 25-26.
And Councilwoman Pastor, to add a finer point to that, there have been a number of things since the beginning of this fiscal year that the police department has been asked to absorb in terms of additional positions to help with some of the things that we've been addressing as far as like reform. And those costs then are already on autopilot essentially into next year's base budget. So they are absorbing already capacity out of next year's base.
Okay. So basically what you're saying, years 2 through 5, we are adding additional dollars. What if we don't have those additional dollars?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, this contract would be in place, and so we would be obligated to expend these funds unless for some reason we determine to cancel the contract under the terms within. The funds to balance that or offset that would have to be identified elsewhere.
Well, I'm hoping the police budget.
Certainly, that would be the first place we would go to offset that.
Because we are facing a deficit. We will be going to our community regarding the deficit. So I'm hoping with those that are understand budgets, that then they will say, we are observing this amount and it's going to have to come out of your budget. I think that's fair because if we face a deficit, others department will end up paying for this budget. And so what we're hearing from community, and I think this is an important part for community, is that we don't want to sacrifice that piece of this side of the community, of our mental health pieces, of our housing, of our homeless solution. We are asking, we need additional resources for these areas in order to balance this other side. And if we can find, and this is just where I'm at on this, we can find $22 million for new tasers, then we can figure out to find additional resources for the areas of the social, emotional, human side that is needed for our community. Because, and the reason why I'm saying this is because it also protects the police in the end. And when people have services and housing and places to be, it helps police and it helps the safety of our community. And I'm not saying let's cancel this. I'm saying we have to balance it. And what does that look like? And we have to have a hard conversation with our community on what that's going to look like in the future. So I'm going to switch off on that and go to effective January. Then what I'm hearing is the use of force. Everybody will have been trained effective January 1, 2025.
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Pastor, everyone will have been trained and updated with a video, which will come out the 13th of January. The policy will be in effect at the end of January.
Okay. When you say updated with a video, I have caution to that, but please explain that.
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Pastor, what we're doing is, it's been a long time since we've done our use of force training, and it's very important to us that we get this right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a video that discusses the tenets of the new use of force policy and send that out to our employees so that it's a reminder and a reinforcer of the new policy.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. So basically, we're going to send out to those, say someone I got trained a year ago on the use of force policy. I go on my way and maybe don't understand a piece of the use of force policy. So I'm going to get a refresher of the use of force policy. And then I'm assuming, because this is what happens to me at the community college, I take these courses and then I have to sign off on me taking these courses, that I have done these courses, or they follow me and they sign off on the system. But I'm assuming that's what happens.
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Pastor, that's correct. They are held accountable to that policy.
Thank you. Now, my question on the taser, the actual taser, because I'm hearing that it's antiquated and it's outdated. But what I'm really hearing in this whole process is that this modernization of a taser gives enough space. I don't know. I can't think right now. Enough distance, so that communication can be happening on a distance wide to say whatever you say, or whatever the commands are, and it gives you guys enough distance to be able to have more communication and really effectiveness before you have to use the taser. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Pastor, that's correct. It allows us to have more distance. It also allows the person with whom we're dealing to feel more comfortable because we're not as close.
Okay. And then one last question. I think it's one last question. Do we have any data or evidence on the effectiveness of this taser?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, we did our pilot program in the Maryvale Estrella precinct, and what we saw was that it proved more effective than the Taser 7s.
So then we do have data? I mean, I can look at the data and see the effectiveness of it?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, it's a small subset. Honestly, one of the biggest things, and we didn't track it at the beginning, was that audible deterrent, which worked really well for us, and we didn't anticipate that. So we only had 9 deployments, 8 of which were effective, and the 9th was just too far.
Okay. I would like to see data. So as we roll out, I would like to see data of every time a taser is used, the distance, I want to see all of it to see how effective this is. I mean, I understand we'll be phasing out to these ones, but I think it's very important and for transparency purposes for the community. So I don't know if it's a directive here, or what is it that you guys need in order to collect this data?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, this contract includes software from Axon that is called Trend, and it tracks a lot of that data and will be available.
And so you'll be able to give it to us maybe monthly, every 3 months? How is this going to work?
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Pastor, we will be able to do that. We do some on our transparency page now, but we'll be able to provide you statistics of our use of it when we use it. There is a lag with our current records management system, but we'll give you the up-to-date numbers as soon as we can. Currently, we're looking at September 1st numbers now. So as we improve that with our new records management system, that gap will shorten, but we'll be able to provide statistics to you. We can do it monthly if that is what you prefer.
Okay. And then I promise, this is my last question. Non-English speakers, how do you communicate to non-English speakers? And what I mean is, because I'm seeing this, non-English speakers, if you're giving me a command and I'm not understanding what command you're giving me, where is a de-escalation in all this, and how do you de-escalate before you go to a taser? And I don't know if this is an appropriate place, but I'm thinking of non-English speakers. Because I can be like, I don't know, I'm scared what someone's yelling at me and I don't know, and I'm not going to stop. So I'm just thinking in this situation because of because of the translations, I'm trying to say, okay, we probably need to look at some of this space. So that's all. It's just a comment. You don't have to respond.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I want to go back and ask a couple questions about the budget, Jess. So one of the exercises that you'll be asking all the departments to do is to look at cuts. So you're going to be asking the police department to do that as well, right?
Vice Mayor, Mayor, members of the council, we've actually already started that process. We've asked departments to identify a list of potential reductions. Those reductions are due back to me in the next couple of weeks. Then we go through the arduous task of reviewing them, making sure that they're accurately calculated, and then we would bring forward a list of potential reductions if we are needing those for the balancing of the budget with the trial budget.
So in the case of the police department, if they find some reductions, perhaps that could help in assisting the cost of the tasers? Is there a way to balance that?
Vice Mayor, Mayor, members of the council, yes, that is also an option, and those are the things that we also look at during our tech review process, which we've kind of wrapped up in October. We look at departments' utilization of existing budgetary basis, and then we try to forecast out moving forward to make sure that they're not, increasing just for the sake of increasing, and we do a very detailed dive. As we go through compiling the list of potential reductions, we will look for those low-hanging fruits. Okay. So anything that could be cut that doesn't impact direct services to the community and doesn't have an impairment on our operations or efficiencies, those are things that we would likely recommend to council to eliminate. Some things don't necessarily require a council action to take. If we're not changing service, if we're not cutting positions, if it's really just an efficiency and there's some budgetary savings, we'll take those without needing to ask council for permission or approval to do that.
So there may be those opportunities to look at the next coming year's budgets. You'll probably do that exercise for the next few years,
yes,
right?
And in fact, when we come back to you on February 25th with that multi-year forecast, we will be talking to you about, the existing trend for the budget for every single department, as well as those unfunded needs that we have elsewhere. So we'll talk about all of that on February 25th in detail, and then March 19th is when we present the trial budget.
Great. That gives me some assurances that other services in the city will be protected. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hodge-Washington.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. I have a couple of questions. Many of my questions have been answered by my colleagues. There's a couple things I would like to follow up on and get some clarification. One, is there some way someone can explain to me the jump from year one to year two? It goes from 1.9 to $5.5 million. I just want to understand what is anticipated between year one and year two that would account for that difference.
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Hodge-Washington, year one is a partial year contract, so the contract wouldn't begin until January, so it's January to June. So it's basically half, essentially, of what, slightly less than half of what would go into the following years, which are approximately $5 million each.
Okay, that addresses my second question, well, partially my second question. What percentage of our actual force would we anticipate, if worst case scenario, we are only able to provide funding for year one, what percentage of our department would have access to Taser 7, I'm sorry, Taser 10 versus Taser 7?
Mayor, members of council, Councilman Hodge Washington, if we were only able to outfit a certain amount of officers, we would focus on our forward-facing officers, which would be our patrol officers. I believe that's about 911, and our tactical support officers, and I'm ballparking that in the 80 range.
Okay.
We currently have 2,505 sworn officers, not including what's in our academy. So it'd be less, right around half.
Right around half of our front-facing or our?
Of our forward-facing officers in Patrol and Tactical Support Bureau.
Okay, thank you. Like
And
I
could
said,
I add just one thing to that, Councilwoman, just food for thought? So, Mayor, members of the council, if we were to make adjustments to the contract and only fund a portion of it going forward, there's a likelihood that the economies of scale that we get and the pricing that we get for the volume that we're agreeing to purchase would change, and that cost could go up per product, if that makes sense.
I appreciate that, thank you. My second thought focuses more so on ensuring, what assurances can you tell us or tell me as a council member that de-escalation is still going to be our officers' first response when it comes to the use of these tasers, despite the fact that they may have additional distance? Councilwoman Pastor brought up one of the comments that I had here is about how do we ensure that we're able to still properly train on the use of force with these new tasers and the new use of force process that allows our community and the officers to feel like this is a safe environment.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, ICAT is our current de-escalation thing. ICAT is integrating communication and tactics. So over 700 of our patrol officers have been trained in ICAT so far. We're about to restart our program, get retrained in it, and rejuvenate that program, I guess. In the last year, we've trained over 700 officers in that. It starts with communication. So we are pushing as a department and everything that we are doing where communication is first. So that will be reiterated throughout everything. When we deploy our tasers, if allowed today, if it's passed, we will start our training program. And in our training program, we've developed a 10-hour training for Taser 10. In that 10-hour training module, which we believe we can complete, by the end of June. We can start at the end of January and have all of patrol through by the end of June. It will include a classroom portion with department policy, so it'll be more of the new use of force policy, more refreshers on that. The more they hear it, we feel the better understanding they will have of it. It will also have a decision-making module, virtual reality scenarios, practical exercises, and scenario-based training. And all of these will start with communication and integrate the ICAT principles in that. So we do have a very strong push in tactics and training for communication first.
And when do we anticipate being completing the ICANN training of the portion, the policy changes and training?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, that's a great question. I don't have an estimate on that. We did get as many through as possible, and we identified that we needed to update it, and the PERF is what puts it on the Police Executive Research Forum. They've updated their training too, so we will be in line with PERF's training. We're sending officers to their school in January. And then we'll restart that training. So we offer it once a week to patrol, and we try to get them through as quick as possible.
Okay, a couple more questions. We heard a little bit about the pilot program that has been in place. We heard about one of the benefits so far has led to reduced deployment is the audio function. Is there any other takeaways that we have heard we've seen from this pilot program? Have we seen less deployments in general, or is there anything else we can expand on that?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, we did receive full community support for those that took place in the pilot program in the community response. So they gave their full support, which was nice. As far as takeaways, it was interesting that audible deterrent was kind of the biggest thing for us, that it was nice to know that it resulted in less deployments, which is why the data is so low of 8 to 9 actual deployments of it. But when the officers pulled it out and turned it on, people said, "What is that? I don't know what it is, but I don't want anything to do with it." And we gained really quick compliance.
And when you say we had full community support, can you elaborate a little bit on that for me, please?
Absolutely. Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington. We had a few meetings at the beginning to introduce the TASER 10, show the community what it was, what the features were. The pilot program was 3 months, and then we had a final meeting to go over all of the stats that we had and talk about some of the deployments that we had, such as the audible deterrent and the cost of it, things like that. And unanimously, everyone that participated was in full support of the TASER 10.
Thank you for sharing that. One question I would have, based on what you just explained about the community support, you kind of did a meeting with the community before this was launched. Would that be part of the rollout if we were to continue with the TASER 10 going forward? Is that in the pipeline as well?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, you're asking if we can do another community event?
If we continue to move forward with the TASER 10, one of the areas that I think was very beneficial is the community had some say and buy-in as to how this was rolled out and yet was more informed. You said we got full community support. And I was asking, is that the plan going forward as if we were to continue with this, would that be the plan going forward?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, yes, absolutely. We involve the community in everything. We heard what the community had to say today in their comments, and we'll continue to include this in all of our transparency website with data, as Chief Penza said. But we can certainly explore ways to involve the community more in these discussions and continue them and have them ongoing with data, as Councilwoman Pastor spoke about, things like that.
Thank you. Those are my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to do a couple follow-ups. You said that the noise or the audible caused several folks to not or to comply, but those are not included in the numbers you gave us today. Is that correct?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, that's correct. It was something that we didn't anticipate going into the pilot, so we didn't capture the numbers of that. We wish we did, because the feedback that we got from the officers, the 28 officers in the pilot program, was positive.
And will the software that comes with this track if the audible is set off, yet not actually the tasers aren't actually deployed?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, I don't know the answer to that, but I can get it for you and report back.
That would be great. And
yes.
Yes, it does. Okay, you got help from a friend.
I did get it.
That is good news. And I know there have been some questions about budgeting and this contract and what happens if we start it, but we don't follow through, or we find that there's not funding. My question is then, the life expectancy of this resource that we have currently, the TASER 7, is about 5 years. If we cannot replace those with TASER 10s, do we quit using TASER 7s because they're outdated and not working or not supported by Axon?
Mayor, members of council, Councilman O'Brien, that would be a policy question that we would have to discuss with you and your peers to determine what we would like to do in lieu of that less lethal product.
Okay. That's it, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Our final agendized item is item 90. Will the clerk read the title?
Item 90 is for ordinance G7334, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to amend Phoenix City Code Chapter 36 electric scooters and electric bicycles to update the minimum age to ride electric scooters and electric bicycles.
Vice Mayor.
I move to approve item 90.
Second.
Motion and a second. Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. I do appreciate staff bringing this item to us. I would ask that the change is to 16 years of age. And in discussing this with some of my community members and after my involvement of 8 years on a school board, I would ask my council members, well, to consider potentially a different age. But do we have staff here that could answer a couple questions?
Yes, Streets Transportation Director Brandy Kelso is on her way.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Brandy. So how did city staff arrive at the age of 16 as a recommendation?
Mayor, Council, let me move that a little bit. We actually looked at a lot of our peer cities, both locally and nationally. And when we looked at that, majority of them had the age of 16. In addition, our ordinance originally was 16 and it got changed to 18. So when we looked at that and looked at what other cities were doing, that's the recommendation to council at this time.
Okay. And I do, 16 is the driving age in Arizona, and I do understand that. But I also know that our high schoolers start high school at 14. And in Deer Valley Unified School District, while we bus kids, if you live closer than 1 3/4 miles to the school, you do not get bused. You must find your own transportation. Additionally, the state of Arizona has school choice, which means that if you don't choose to go to your public school closest to your home, there might be other options, and those could also be farther away. And I feel like micromobility or electric scooters, electric bicycles could be options. I know that some of our school districts have options for programs that are offered within the district, but not necessarily at our local school. You might attend your local school, but then go to another high school. And especially in a district that is as far north as my district is, we don't have bus service to the entire part of my district. So a teenager taking a bus is not an option for everybody. And then additionally in Arizona, you can start working when you're 15. So I would suggest that we lower the age to at least 14. Most high schoolers are 14 their freshman year. That would give them the ability to ride an electric scooter or electric bike. I also think that there are some safety positive attributes for safety, especially in neighborhoods. I can think of a community where kids walk a long way and they walk by some areas in community that are not as safe as I might wish they would be. And being on an electric bike or electric scooter might provide them with additional safety. So I would just ask, I commend you all on the work you're doing to bring this to us at age 16. And I just ask my council members to consider that it be 14 instead of 16. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you,
And
Mayor.
then Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Thank you, Mayor. Unless I'm missing something, I thought I read that the micromobility vendors, they require riders to be 18. So, and that's due to insurance and other requirements. So if we were to amend our city code to provide for a lower age, how would that play with our vendors? Would our vendors still be able to participate if they have a different regulatory scheme that they comply with?
Mayor and Council, that's a great question. The age would be appropriate for private e-scooters and e-bikes. The vendors, due to their own requirements, can set the age at 18. For insurance issues and liability issues, the vendors would stay at 18.
Okay. And then you said we modeled and sampled, or we looked at other cities and looked at their age, for those that had reduced age. Did they tend to have the same level of vehicle dependency that we see here in Phoenix?
Mayor and council, yeah, we looked at several local, Tempe, Scottsdale, Chandler, Mesa, and then we also looked at several large cities around the country, Austin, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, Houston, so a lot of similar type of communities.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I just wanted to make sure, while I do understand the desire to provide another option for the youth to be able to traverse our roadways, I am a little hesitant about having a 14 or a 16-year-old share the road with our motorists when we see statistics that we are still trying to be on the right side of with our Vision Zero. We are still, from my perspective, seeing quite a bit of collisions, and I am just hesitant on putting a child in that roadway, in that safety area, especially when they have not, in some cases, even taken a class to learn the rules of the road. And I would rather, maybe I'm being too protectionist, but I am concerned about that. So those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe the councilwoman stole what I was going to say, and I'm okay with that.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Brandy, you and I had these conversations as well. I think for me, it's also hard, right? I mean, I think we had a lot of concerns when we brought in the scooters. I know I was new on the council when those conversations were happening. I just think it would be, for me, I wouldn't be comfortable having a 14-year-old being out on the scooter. I mean, just echoing what Councilwoman Hodge Washington is saying. I just don't think that would be responsible on our part. So far, I think the incidents have been low as far, but I just don't think that's a good idea.
Yes, Councilwoman Pastor.
Yes, I agree to 16, and I agree to 16 only because at 16, you take, if you're going to drive, you usually get a permit at 15 and a half, since I have one in my house. And the challenge that I have is her following the rules of even driving and explaining, and me sitting there explaining to say, slow down, stop, to do all the things, but I'm in the car teaching. I also agree because it's an industry's policy, and there is some liability pieces that could happen, and there would be some liability pieces that could happen even with the city. So I am staying with where the motion is.
Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
I just want to make sure I have clarity on the motion.
16.
Yes.
O'Brien.
No.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Mayor, if I may explain my vote. Thank you. You know, I understand the argument with regard to kids, 14 and 15 years old riding electric bikes and scooters to school, and it's something I've considered, but I've had significant outcry from my community because we have had several accidents involving 14 and 15-year-olds on these scooters. So for that reason, I'm going to vote yes, staying at 16, because I think it's important, but I acknowledge that there are those who use the electric bikes to get to school and stuff, and I feel for them, but I'm going to fall on the side of safety, and I think 16 is the right age for it. Thank you.
Waring. Yes. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
That concludes our agendized business. I will turn to the city attorney to introduce the final portion.
Thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The citizen comment session is limited to 30 minutes. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. We'll begin with Blue Crowley, followed by Missy Pruitt. Okay, blue has departed. We'll begin with Missy, followed by Diane Barker.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. Oh gosh, I think I just deleted all my stuff.
And I was having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me now? So my name is Missy Pruitt. I just want to give a recap of the year of the past couple months. I am the founder of Arizona's first cat cafe, and then I just resigned. It's been about a year, and now I'm doing cat education and advocacy and resources for the community. So I'm just going to read what I have to say, just a little bit of recap from the year. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. As we approach the end of the year, I want to take a moment to reflect on the significant challenges we face regarding the cat crisis in Arizona. If you don't know, there's over 15,000 cats living on the street in just Phoenix, or Maricopa County, actually. They're saying over 1 million in our entire state. It is urgent to prioritize the animal welfare in our city. This year, we have witnessed a troubling increase in the number of stray and abandoned animals, particularly cats. Estimates suggest that there are 1 million feral cats across the state, each one representing not just a life in need, but also broader implications for our environment, public health, and community well-being. The suffering of these animals is heartbreaking. Many are left to fend for themselves, facing starvation, disease, and harsh weather conditions. Shelters overwhelmed, struggling to accommodate the influx of animals, while dedicated rescue organizations operate at full capacity, often without the necessary resources to make a substantial impact. As we reflect on the last year, it is crucial to recognize the efforts of the local advocates and organizations who have worked tirelessly to address this issue. Their dedication to spaying, neutering, and providing medical care has made the difference in that one cat, but it's not made a difference because we are going back 3 steps and moving forward 1 step. Even more than that. What can we do as a city? First, we must prioritize education and awareness campaigns to inform the public about responsible pet ownership and the importance of spaying and neutering. By fostering a culture of compassion and responsibility, we can help reduce the number of unwanted litters and ultimately end the feral cat population, overpopulation, and suffering. Tempe, who leads with the best animal, they have led with the cat population help. Tempe, Chandler, and Mesa, and now Gilbert all have a program for feral cats. I want to propose that we establish an animal welfare office within our city government. This office would educate, advocate, and provide support and resources to our community. It would serve as a hub for collaboration between the city, local organizations, and citizens dedicated to improving the lives of all animals in Phoenix. As we stand at this pivotal moment in time, let us remember that every animal's life is a story waiting to be told. A story of hope, love, and a chance for a better tomorrow. It is our duty to give them a voice and ensure that they are treated with the dignity and respect they deserve. Together, we can create a lasting legacy for compassion in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane is next, followed by Percy.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kate and City Council, and happy holidays. And it was really nice to see you all here. I just wonder why Jim's name is still up there. Did he get on the phone or whatever? But hey, I want to thank my councilman for Grant getting back to me, and Cody and Robinson's city council office helped him. I was interested in an agenda item that has been pulled, and it's about transit security, an RFP. I know I had mentioned I got to speak with Jesus, and apparently they will be making that award, but they have a contract too. And I wanted to look at all of that, and I thought that actually you, before voting on it, would be interested in that too. In regards to bus stops, I had brought that up, and Grant's going to be looking in District 7 for that bus stop. Councilman Carlos Galindo Riveras. I did go over to the bus stop at Roosevelt and 7th Avenue, and I just announced to some of the loiterers there, I said, I'm adopting this bus stop because they saw me cleaning it up. I put a bunch of bags in another bag and tied it on there because there is no seat or any trash. They've had problems. There was a man there that was sitting, you know, in the dirt, and he got up and took some litter and put it in my bag. And actually, one of the men said to me, well, why would you pick a stop that had so many problems? I was just thinking, you know, the city council's very organized, the city is, with the different neighborhood organizations. At one time, we had, over, I could be wrong about this, 400 or so neighborhood groups, but if in fact you will go ahead and re-adopt that program, adopt the bus stop, this could be presented to the communities, and there could be people within those different organizations that would want to go out and adopt a bus stop every now and then if they are using it, or if it's in their neighborhood, they could see that it's orderly and kept clean, or they could call for the services that you've been promoting, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you. Percy is next, followed by Julia Taggart.
Percy Christian here, District 7 is where I reside. She had more information about feral cats than the police officers did about the use of tasers and their test runs in Maryville. And you all just unanimously voted yes on it. So it really is pretty disgusting display of political cowardice in this chamber. Because I just want to make sure I understand what just happened. You unanimously voted for $22 million on new tasers after conducting your test runs in Maryville, deliberately choosing to experiment with these weapons in Phoenix's largest brown community. The audacity continues to take my breath away. Councilman Robinson, I heard your pathetic justification about tools for officers. These aren't tools, they're weapons that your own department has no data to prove are effective. Your police chief just admitted himself that you're asking us to trust you with $22 million that you can't even really prove work or are really effective. I think that she said that there were less than 10 counts of the use in the test run. I really don't understand how that's effective data to prove anything or to prove that they work. While the DOJ report sitting on your desk documents how your officers already use the tasers against our communities. Now, Councilman Pastor, I appreciate your concern, but I have to say that it does feel very performative. Because you asked about the budget deficit and you asked about non-English speakers, but it feels like it rings hollow when you still voted yes. You admitted right here that if we can find $22 million for tasers, then we can find $22 million for community resources. But you still chose to vote yes. You all still chose to vote yes. Not a single one of you have the courage to even mention the DOJ report. The findings from the DOJ report about how Phoenix Police's pattern of excessive force is used with tasers. Not one of you addressed how the officers routinely tase people who pose no threat without warning, even when they're already handcuffed. Instead, you sat here talking about tools and effectiveness while ignoring the federal investigation that exposed your department's violence. You conducted your weapon test in Maryville because you know exactly who the tasers will be used against: Black and brown communities. Disabled people like Tyrone McAlpin, unhoused people, protesters, and anyone else who dares challenge the authority of police. Your unanimous vote today makes it clear that you don't just enable police violence, but you actively invest in it. And to everyone watching, especially our own people of the Maryville community, please remember this moment. Remember how every single council member chose to experiment with weapons in your neighborhood. Remember how they found millions of tasers while claiming there's no money for housing, for mental health, or for community programs, such as the Feral Housing Program. 2025 is coming, and this vote will not be forgotten. Every time your officers use new tasers, every time they terrorize our community with these weapons, we will remember.
Julia is next, followed by Tim.
Hi, thank you for, thank you, Council,
for allowing me to speak today. So you all know me. My name is Julia Taggart. I'm the president of the Sunny Slope Historical Society. I'm currently the youngest museum president in the state. I was just there at the last meeting for the Sunny Slope Rock Garden, which got historic status. This past Monday at the HP Commission meeting, one of the commissioners said that the HP Commission has no power and that City Council would not stand up for them or support them in any decision of an overlay in the future. And that really broke my heart. I know it was regarding White Gates, and many people wanted a landmark status. And one of the commissioners said, we have no power on this commission. We have the power to really not do anything. We only have the power to negotiate. And everybody agreed with that. They all said that City Council wouldn't support them, which I know you guys do care about historic preservation. But after that meeting, I mean, there was 20, 30 people walking out crying, thinking, did they just say City Council won't support historic preservation? What is going to be the future of historic preservation if we don't have the support of City Council? It was so disheartening to hear. I mean, I had other preservationists calling me after the meeting saying, are any of the properties that you're trying to get preserved safe, Julia? Because they just said they won't do an overlay for anything because City Council won't back them up. They use Milam Textiles as an example. And it was really heartbreaking because I thought I was giving hope to my community, that our history mattered, that what we were doing mattered, getting all these properties historic status, the rock garden, our old church, the Sunny Slope Presbyterian Church, Eye Opener, you know, Hanson Mortuary, just to hear that if in the future it's up for demolition, there won't be an overlay or a fight by our commission because they don't believe that they'll have support from you guys. And I know that's not true, but it's really hard for preservationists to hear that this year, you know, and hear that and just think, is that going to be the future? If it is, why are we doing all this? Why are we putting things on the city registry if our commission can't fight for them to be saved in the end? I don't know where the future is going to be for preservation. I'm sure there will be other people doing a public comment after me about this. And I know that you guys do care about preservation. Kevin Robinson, you worked to come up with a salvage plan for White Gates, which is in your district, which I'm very thankful that you did, since we cannot have that building be saved. I know Deborah Stark, you supported the Sunny Slope Rock Garden. I just don't know why the commission would feel this way right now and say that so publicly. It's really heartbreaking because I have to think, you know, should I keep doing this in the future? If that's what's going to happen, if any of those properties that I just got on the registry are up for demolition in the future, are they going to be saved, or am I just going to have to watch them go away? So I would please like you to consider, what is the future of historic preservation? I know the HP office does their best and they do an amazing job. So please just consider the future of historic preservation in the city of Phoenix.
Tim is next, followed by Christy.
Good afternoon, Council. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Earlier today in this subcommittee, we have now placed an agenda item, that being, we want a full description of the power of the Parks Department and the Parks Board and how they're legislating and really controlling millions of people without an elected official being on any of these boards. I understand in the Phoenix Charter that they have a certain amount of power that they can do at this point, but consequently, I think the city has expanded. It's not the same charter as it was 100 years ago, and I think we really need to start looking at the power structure of allowing individuals who are not elected officials to start mandating changes for 5 and 10 million people, especially who want to hike the mountains. Since these individuals want to control the times of people hiking the mountains, we feel it's up to the people who are an elected official to make these changes and not the individuals who are not elected officials. So we need to revisit this next month and ask ourselves this pertinent question: why are we allowing people who are non-elected officials to control any of this? I secondly want to talk about the firemen and how they really have a problem going and saving people on Camelback Mountain. If you really look at the statistics, the amount of people being saved on the mountains is a 0.008% of their total calls per year. I'm just trying to figure out a 0.008, and they think that, that this is a lot of individuals. It's not. If these individuals can go to a fire and have 50 pounds of gear on their back and go to a fire that's 170 or 180 degrees, but they don't want to go to Camelback Mountain and help people get off the mountain, then we really have a problem with the firefighters in our city. Their job is here to protect and save. This group of individuals volunteer to help take people off the mountain, but now it seems that the unions have stepped in and said, no, we don't want these individuals to be doing this because it's too scary for them or too hot for them, but they can go to a fire and consequently fight a fire that's 170 degrees, be out there for hours, but they can't take someone off from Camelback Mountain. I think this is one of the problems we need to address at the next meeting in the subcommittee so we can start clarifying exactly what is required of all these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy is next, followed by Jess.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Christy Margario. I'm speaking on behalf of a group of concerned Phoenix citizens that have been working to improve animal welfare within our city. This is the 5th time I'm appearing before you in the 4th quarter of this year. I have a full-time job, so just to be here, I have to use my vacation time. I'm well prepared for these public comments opportunities, and this preparation takes time as well. I say all of this to demonstrate how serious I am about being here to work with you to improve animal welfare within Phoenix. In the animal welfare industry, we are organizing and working together to make change. We want better laws, better enforcement of the laws, and readily available, no-cost spay and neuter programs for low-income residents in their neighborhoods. We know this is a long game, and we want you to know we will be here for it. This year, we have spoken to you about our concerns regarding the perceived lack of enforcement of the new ordinance language passed in 2023. We have shared that we've spent time researching, gathering information, and communicating with several city departments on related topics. We met with Maricopa County Animal Care and Control enforcement officers and have communicated with Arizona Humane Society Enforcement. We collected their feedback and suggestions and presented the details to those of you that have met with us. We analyzed the city's animal welfare contracts and have made some recommendations to take action sooner rather than later, since all 3 contracts expire June 30th of 2027. We have just begun to share important facts about the spay and neuter programs in underserved communities. We understand this is not something that could be accomplished overnight or by one entity. Cross-functional partnerships are crucial to executing a preventative initiative for public health and safety like a spay and neuter program. We believe if the right organizations work together, we can develop and execute an effective strategy to reduce stray population, in turn saving future taxpayer dollars on animal welfare. More to come on this topic in the future. We want to thank you for your attention, even though we know you are a captive audience here. Several of your offices have reached out to meet with us, and we can't say enough how much we appreciate your interest in our objectives. Happy holidays to all of you, and we will see you in January. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jess is next, followed by Roland.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jess Dobbs. The October 24th decision by the Phoenix Park and Recreation Board to expand the trail heat closures, which now include all of South Mountain Park, and further adjusted the closure times to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. without public input raises significant concerns. Their approach to the issue was not only premature and overly broad, it also violated the open meeting law. The public was not responsibly informed that a decision affecting the quality of life of millions of citizens and trail users would be occurring at that meeting. It was listed as an update. The Parks Board members and representatives from Phoenix Fire have made every indication that that decision was made prior to the October 24th meeting and without any public input. It has appeared this way since the beginning of these closures in 2021, pushing this agenda without citizen commentary or considering alternative solutions. Parks and public spaces are community assets. Decisions that impact access to these spaces should be made with robust community engagement, ensuring that local residents have a say in how their public lands are managed. The Keep Phoenix Trails Open Coalition requested the raw data being utilized to justify these trails. And when they looked at the data, they saw that of the millions of people that hike annually, mountain rescues actually account for less than 0.08% of all fire response incidences and are a microfraction of all trail users. The likelihood that a unique visitor to our Phoenix mountain parks in 2023 would need a rescue was actually 0.007%, similar to your chances of being hit by lightning. The fire department data actually shows that these trail closures have a disproportionate impact on responsible hikers while providing minimal relief to the overall emergency response operations. You can find this data on keepphoenixtrailsopen.org. I am here representing the trail using community to request that Phoenix Parks heat safety policies be reviewed by the City Council, the elected people, with presentations made by all stakeholders, not just the Phoenix Fire Department. And these stakeholders now include, with South Mountain Park, hikers, cyclists, runners, bird watchers, photographers, and people just wanting to go outside on a summer day. We ask that alternative solutions, including greater public heat safety education, be reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you. Roland is next, followed by Coco. Do we have Roland? Coco is next, followed by Joanne Scott Woods. She left. Joanne is next. Joanne, you'll be our final speaker of the calendar year.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. This month marks the 10-year remembrance of the death of unarmed and surrendering Romaine Brisbane. His shooting by Officer Mark Ryan placed our city at the forefront of the country's second civil rights movement. In 2015, Time magazine's cover story immortalized him and 17 others with their article entitled "Black Lives Matter, This Time the Charge is Murder." This officer-involved shooting sparked community outrage and humbled our city council and mayor, who did not follow up with the 2010 34 recommendations of the Community Engagement and Outreach Task Force. In 2015, they consequently formed the Community and Police Trust Initiative. Our Arizona Racial Justice and Racial Healing nonprofit, People Demanding Justice Community Coalition, simultaneously met separately and collaborated with the Phoenix PD in our 10 solutions to build trust in our city. This year, the final solution, the Civilian Review Board, was established. The immeasurable first life legacy of Romaine Brisbane was, of course, his love for his friends, family, his girlfriend, and 4 daughters. His second legacy thereafter was that of truth valiantly revealed in his family's civil suit. His third legacy was that of justice that his community demanded and received. And beginning in 2020, the last was his legacy of healing that is proclaimed annually through proclamations for a day of unity through racial and communal healing. We will continue to honor you, Romaine, as per the proclamation, by working together to, quote, maintain communities in which every citizen has the opportunity to thrive, unquote, and as conciliated citizens by earnestly striving to, quote, ensure the best quality of life for every child, unquote. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Joanne. We are adjourned. Happy holidays.
Waiting for others to join.
The Sonoran Desert of central Arizona is home to a modern-day metropolis, Phoenix. But today's Phoenix would not be possible without the advanced canals built by prehistoric people known as the Huhugum.
The canal systems were the greatest technological success story of our people. At its height, or its peak, there was over 1,000 miles of canals, if you can believe it or not. And this map shows some of that. They channeled this water and created an agricultural empire that wasn't rivaled anywhere else in the Southwest. The precursors to SRP, they actually went out and advocated for our people to get a water delivery system because the water was drying up in the Salt River. And so what they did is they just relined all the existing canals that our ancestors had created all those years ago. And so some of those are still in action today, and they're over 1,000 years old.
By the mid-century, air travel had increased so much that Sky Harbor opened Terminal 1 in 1952 to accommodate all the travelers. It was built for $835,000, and it was considered state-of-the-art for an airport terminal in its day.
By the end of the 1950s, Terminal 1 could no longer accommodate all of the passengers traveling through Sky Harbor. And so, in 1962, Terminal 2 opened. The same year, the airport's annual traffic topped 1 million passengers for the first time.
Terminal 2 was iconic in that it was known for its rooftop viewing